What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel for today's video. Thanks to the wicked team over at Threezero, we're going to be checking out their Transformers MDLX Sideswipe, another wicked realistic retake on that classic G1 design. And as we check out the details, the head sculpt is a prime example of exactly that. Whilst it is still easily recognizable as the original character, I really like how much extra detail this guy has packed into that face piece. As we spin down here to the chest unit, in addition to the paint apps being absolutely immaculate, I like that despite this guy not being able to transform, it really hasn't in any way, shape or form stopped Threezero in integrating a shit ton of additional vehicle components. If I was to take a guess at what this guy would transform into, I'm guessing that it would most definitely be that classic sweet red Lambo. And as we spin this guy here to the side, I really like from a design perspective how the side doors now almost seamlessly integrate into the forearm armor. But the legs are by far my favorite part of this guy's robot mode. They're not too complex, nor too simplistic, and are really a great balance between both the old and the new. As we spin him around here to the back, the details get even better. I really like how the spoiler totally doubles as the heel spurs for this guy, and this figure, much like the majority of their MDLX line, is sporting something crazy like 40 points of articulation, but most of the joints are incredibly seamless, and the knees are most definitely a prime example of that. The overlapping mechanized panels on the back I think are looking sharp, and as we check out this guy's actual backpack, of course it would be the windshield, which I think really integrates well into the design. This is totally see-through, and packed beneath are some additional details which I thought was a great touch. So overall, this is just a solid design, and if Paramount ever have any plans in bringing Sideswipe back to the big screen, then I really do think that this here is the perfect live-action movie take on this iconic G1 character. And the same can absolutely be said as we swipe through this guy's accessories. So up first, we do see the return of his now iconic over-the-shoulder cannon, which also has received a major, more realistic update when it does come down to a design. This almost seamlessly integrates into the figure's shoulder, so he should have no issues in obliterating herds of Decepticons on that battlefield. But if he is after something slightly more precise, then he can totally whip out his original G1 sidearm, which yet again has been incredibly well detailed. In addition to those, if Sideswipe wants to get down and dirty in battle, then we do have these two much smaller forearm attachments, which much like the over-the-shoulder cannon, almost perfectly integrate into this guy's design. And in true Threezero MDLX fashion, this guy's packing a shit ton of interchangeable hands. So up first, we do get a pair of fighting hands, then a pair of relaxed hands, which are actually brilliant for getting this guy into some slightly more casual poses. And then finally, a pair of blaster holding hands, so this guy should be able to wield this bad boy on either side. Now the same can also be said in terms of the over-the-shoulder cannon. These tiny little indicator lights are removable on both sides, which I did think was a pretty sweet touch. Swiping into this guy's posability, not only is he a non-transforming Transformer, but he is also an action figure sculpted and designed by Threezero themselves. So when it does come down to articulation, you guys can just bet that he will absolutely be bringing the heat. So up first, both the head and the neck are on ball joints, so these have no issue in looking up as well as looking down, tilting side to side and turning both left to right. In addition to that, all of the internal ball joints are reinforced by die cast, which I thought was a great carryover from some of their slightly larger DLX scale figures. The shoulders are on ball joints, so these can crunch inwards, they can crunch outwards, they can then also kick out to the side as well as be brought both forwards and backwards. The bicep can spin, he is then packing a supreme double bend here at the elbow, and the wrists are ball jointed. In addition to that, those side doors can totally be flipped forwards, which I am most definitely taking as being a direct throwback to the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen design. But now we turn to what is easily the bread and butter when it does come down to a Threezero Transformer, that being the torso articulation. So in addition to being able to rock both side to side, this can also crunch inwards to a supreme range. I mean, check out that ab crunch, that is sick. As we spin this here around to the back, in true Threezero style, it also reveals some internal detail, which yet again, guys, I thought was just nuts from an engineering standpoint. The waist can then spin all the way around, so this guy should be able to swipe his opponents front side to back. The skirt is completely multi-segmented, so you are able to move this in any way, shape shape or form, although these are only held on via small ball joints, so if for whatever reason one of these bad boys do decide to pop off, definitely take caution once reattaching them. But once fully moved out of the way, the hips have no issues in kicking outwards to that far, and this guy can totally pull off the splits due to some pretty insane drop down ball joints. The thigh can spin all the way around, and the knee bend is completely seamless. I mean, check that out, that is seriously wicked. This allows you to get him into so many dynamic poses. And then finally we spin down here to the ankles, which unfortunately are a little limited, mainly just due to the design, but these still have no issues in crunching forwards, in crunching backwards, as well as tilting side to side very slight. In addition to that, there is also a tiny piece of toe pivot, and check out the detail on the base of the foot. This too has not only been fully sculpted, but also painted front side to back. So for the most part, a brilliantly articulated figure, but the time has now come to see what Sideswipe is truly capable of, so now let's put him through the pose test. Swiping into some comparisons, first of all we are bringing out the Transformers Kingdom Deluxe Class Sideswipe, which is the closest thing I own to G1 accuracy. Now to kind of go back to my earlier point guys, what a fantastic reimagining of the iconic classic character. Seriously, whoever is in charge over at Threezero in designing these MDLX characters most definitely needs to make the leap over into the film industry, because can you guys imagine had this been the design of Sideswipe during the 2009 Revenge of the Fallen movie? Honestly, I don't think anybody would be complaining at all, because this right here is a great amalgamation of both G1 and live action, and the same can absolutely be said as we fly through the rest of the MDLX lineup, which is set to look even better once they do drop the release of the MDLX Jazz, which just looks mind-blowing. I'm really hoping that eventually these are designs that, much like Flame Toys, are eventually taken into Takara Tomi's T-Spark subline, because it would be banging to have a robot mode which looks this good, which could then transform into a killer vehicle mode. Next up, for a quick mainline comparison, here we have the Studio Series 86 Bumblebee. Now, bringing out the big guns, we have their version of MDLX Megatron, which honestly I think is an absolute insane design. Much like Sideswipe here, I would have no issues at all if this bad boy was adapted for the big screen. Here is how he pairs alongside the MDLX Optimus Prime, their version of Starscream, which is an absolute insane design. I mean, come on, this thing here just looks straight up mental. MDLX Rodimus Prime, who is absolutely packing the touch. And then last but by no means least, the Studio Series 86 Commander Class Optimus Prime. So, wrapping up on this review for Threezero's Transformers MDLX Sideswipe. This is a banging, realistic retake on a classic, iconic G1 character. The robot mode is quite simply perfection, to the point where if they were to take this design and adapt it for the big screen, I don't think fans would have any issues with it at all. The robot mode has been so well sculpted and especially painted. The articulation, despite this guy being one of the smaller releases by Threezero, is still absolutely packing a punch. This guy is almost as articulated as some of the larger DLX releases, and I think it's really cool that despite there being a pretty big price difference, this guy's still packing a fair amount of internal diecast. The accessories are absolutely stacked, especially when it comes down to that rocket launcher. Paired with Sideswipe, he appears to be an absolute unit, and despite him not being able to transform, I really like how it didn't stop Threezero at all in integrating a lot of the vehicle mode into this guy's robot design. I would love to get your guys' thoughts on this MDLX Sideswipe down in the comment section below. What do you guys think? I want to thank you all so much for watching, and until my next video, transform and roll out!